Hey, survival litters, this is Mr. Gunderson, and welcome to Distance Learning. It is Monday, March 30th, and we are embarking on a brand new journey together, and we'll see what happens. If you watch the welcome video that I had for distance learning, which can be found here in this folder, Survival Lit Distance Learning, there it is. But here's contact information, how to get a hold of me. Okay, if you didn't get a chance to sign up for Remind, please do that. I'm going to be using that probably quite a bit, and you can text me and message me questions and whatnot. As even before we left, class calendars. Here is the April 2020 distance learning calendar. Breaks it down by the entire month, each week, and every day of what we're doing, when we're doing it, and what is due when. Also over here on the right hand side is the upcoming tab. So if you click on the upcoming tab, you're going to have a snapshot of each day of what we're doing. Okay, so regardless of whether we were going to be in school or whether we're doing distance learning, we were going to be starting the book Buried in the Sky, and that's what you'll be starting with this week. But first I want to kind of talk about this book and some of the people that you're going to be reading about. This is a non-fiction book. This really happened. It's a true account of what happened on K2 and this tragedy in 2008. So let's get into that. We'll talk about that. All right, here it is. Let's get into it. I think. There we go. All right, Buried in the Sky, the extraordinary story of the Sherpa climbers on K2's deadliest day. All right, this story focuses on two Sherpas and the numerous mountain climbers and their struggle for survival on one of the harshest and most dangerous places in the world. The second tallest but the most dangerous mountain in the world, K2. All right, probably the main character of this entire book is, and who you're going to read a lot about, is Chiring Dorji. He was born in the Rowaling Valley of Nepal. He started climbing at age 12. He's a very religious guy. He summited Mount Everest 11 times, so he's very experienced, very good climber. He spent most of his life as a Sherpa, working for companies and helping people, doing all the grunt work. Of setting ropes and carrying equipment and this and that for Western climbers. But in this story, in Buried in the Sky, he climbed K2 as an equal. He wasn't working as a Sherpa. He was climbing with a team. He was an equal climber, which is pretty rare for someone like him. Now, as the tragedy unfolds, Chiring becomes best known for one of the most daring rescues in mountaineering history on K2, saving the life of this guy, Pasang Lama. Now, he's another one of the Sherpas that the story focuses on. Although I just couldn't find information to give you, like I found information on Chiring, I could not find information on Pasang. So when they do talk about Pasang Lama, he's a Sherpa climbing as an equal. Okay, he's not climbing as a Sherpa. He's actually, he's working. I think he was one of the lead climbers. Anyway, so that's Chiring Dorji. This guy, Wilco van Rooyen, is from the Netherlands. Very opinionated and strong-minded, a very experienced mountaineer. Climbed many of the north walls of the Alps. Climbed Mount Everest without extra oxygen. He obviously was involved in this climbing K2 in 2008. He got caught up in the death zone on the descent. He had summited. He reached the summit, but he got caught. And we'll get into what happened on the mountain. And he spent 2 nights in the death zone. Lost, I think, all his toes, some fingers maybe. And he is a climber who he's completed the 7 summits, climbing the highest peaks on 7 continents. Next, Alberto Zerain. He is from Spain. He was considered one of the all-time great climbers, very mythical. Everybody on K2 during 2008 looked at him like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. He is a solo alpinist. He didn't climb on a team. He wasn't a part of a team. He just kind of came to K2 and was doing his thing. He's climbed 7 of the 8,000 peaks. He climbed like a Sherpa. and was very respected by the Sherpas. Buried in the Sky, he is the first climber to reach the summit of K2 on that disastrous day. And a number of years later, he died in an avalanche on Nanga Parbat when he was 55 years old. Excuse me. Marco Confrontola is another character that you're going to read a lot about. He is from Italy. He started as an alpine guide and a ski instructor, started doing big climbs. May 2008, he climbed Everest. 2 months later, he goes to K2, and he climbed K2, again, part of this story. He spent one night in the death zone. He has climbed 10 of the 8,000 peaks throughout the world, which is very impressive. Ger McDonnell, he is from Ireland. He's an engineer and played in the band. Again, a very experienced climber. He climbed Everest in 2003. I believe he climbed Denali, which is the highest peak in North America. Now, he was also got trapped in the death zone. He made the summit, but got caught in the death zone in 2008. He refused to descend. Instead, he stayed up on the mountain to help other injured climbers. Then you have Cecilia Skog, and this is her right here. She is a Norwegian adventurer. Also worked as a guide and lecturer. She's a very experienced climber. She climbed Everest in 2004, became the first Norwegian to summit K2. So in 2008, she made it to the summit. This is her husband, Rolf. Now, she lost her husband, Rolf, on K2 on the descent. So Rolf passes away. You'll have to read about that. She has skied. She became, I believe, the first woman to ski across the North and South Poles. Then there's Pemba Gelji. He was born in Nepal, began climbing at 16 years old, climbed in the Himalayas and in France. He learned modern climbing techniques. He climbed Everest 7 times. Climbed K2 without oxygen in 2008. He spent over 24 hours straight climbing in the death zone to rescue 2 climbers. So during the Buried in the Sky tragedy on K2, he was going up and down the summit from Camp 4 to the summit through the hardest climbing in the death zone, constantly trying to help climbers. And for his heroics, he was named the 2008 National Geographic Adventurer of the Year. So the trek to get to K2, it's not just, you just don't fly in and get to K2. So you have to get, so you have, obviously you have people from the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Italy. So they fly into Islamabad, and then they fly from Islamabad to Skardu. Okay, and then they take a Jeep, and they have to drive through this Jeep, and I believe it's to about here that they drive the Jeep to Payu. Okay, that's at 3,450 meters. The rest of the way, actually, no, I'm sorry, right here's where the trek begins. So Erdukas, they drive the Jeep to Erdukas. From Erdukas, the rest of the way they walk to the K2 base camp. Okay, so here's base camp for K2. Then you have advanced base camp. They climb up to camp 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, acclimatization, they talk about acclimatization. We've talked about that too, previous in class, but this is where the climbers climb these different camps. They come back down. They climb and stay, come back down. Climb up to camp 3, stay, come back down to acclimatize their body. So, a little bit more about the trek to K2. It takes 14 days just to get to K2 base camp. The trek goes through the famous Karakoram range of mountains. Throughout this trek, you can see 7 of the 19 highest mountains on your way to K2 in the world. 7 of the 19 highest mountains in the world are on this trek to K2. A small portion of the trek is by Jeep, the rest is by foot. Each day consists of about 6 to 8 hours of walking. And then K2 base camp is at 16,400 feet. Here's a picture of the K2, of some K2 trekkers. Okay, unbelievable scenery. This is about a 9-minute video of the K2 base camp trek. If you want to come back in here at some other time and watch that video, I highly suggest it. It's a great little video to really kind of get an idea of what it takes just to get to the K2 base camp. But we're going to skip it for right now. Now, obviously with this book, we are applying our 7 survival elements. And as we get into it, as you get into probably around chapters 7, 8, you know, once the climbers truly get into, once the bad stuff really starts happening and they're forced to be in a survival situation, this is where we're really going to start applying our 7 elements. Obviously, we've talked about this. Air is going to be a huge, right? In any other survival element, air is taken for granted. But when you get up 8,000 meters, 27,000 feet up in the air, air becomes a huge deal, right? Because it leads to so many other problems. We're going to talk, the book is going to talk about high altitude pulmonary edema and high altitude cerebral edema. Pulmonary edema affects your lungs. Your lungs fill up with fluid. You're constantly hacking up gunk, hard to breathe. Cerebral edema it affects your brain. Okay, that's where you get confused. You make bad decisions, things like that. So air is so important. Warmth is another big one. Obviously, it's very cold where they are, even though it's August. You climb up in that high of atmosphere, it can get very, very cold. Will to live, huge. This is a huge one, right? Pretty much any type of survival situation, will to live is one of your top 2 or 3 things. You know what? And all of there's going to be a chapter where it talks about all the climbers and the things that they brought with them. It's special things that they keep with them, good luck charms, things like that. But it's that all goes to will to live. Shelter is going to be important. There's going to be times where there's bad weather and a tent gets ripped away from the wind. Well, now all of a sudden there's a climber, and this happens in one of the chapters. A climber loses everything. Literally, the tent is ripped away from him. What does he do? He's got no shelter. The climbers that get stuck up on the summit with no shelter, what do? Okay, so the elements are brutal. Now, food and water is not really, they don't really talk about that because this is about a 1 to 2 day snapshot. Food and water is not very big in this scenario, okay, because the survival time is very short. All these other things are really important though. All right, and this video over here is a short video of what happens to your body at high altitudes. And this is where it talks about high altitude cerebral edema and pulmonary edema. So watch that video if you get a chance. I highly suggest it. All right, so there's kind of an introduction, some of the characters to pay attention to. As you can see, all the chapters are broken down. You're going to be starting here with chapter 2. There's going to be a video in here, just a quick short video, probably about a 3-minute video, just I'll give you some background of what to expect in that video. And I'm going to do that for every chapter, just kind of a quick what this chapter is about. So you go into having an idea. Watch the video first, okay? I can't stress that enough. Watch the video first so you know what to expect in the reading. Now again, you can read this chapter. Here's the PDF. You can read that chapter there on the PDF. You can listen to, here's audio and video. You listen to it and follow along in the video, okay? And then when you're done with that chapter, you're going to be filling out this reflective quick write assignment. And I'll go over that in a different video here. But you'll be able to go, you're going to be filling out this reflective quick write assignment. And then at the end, when you're all done with the video, there's a quick, short little reading check quiz, if you want to call it, for each chapter. It's going to be 5 short answer questions, and then there'll be a matching question. There'll be 5, you have to match up characters, match up events, match up things like that. So it's worth 10 points, short, easy to do. All right? So that's kind of our introduction. Now, I cannot stress this enough, folks. I'm not here necessarily, I'm not going to be here to help you all the time with it. Reading directions, watching the instructional videos, following the instructions. I cannot stress how important that's going to be for you. All right? So please do that. Again, as always, email me, message me in Schoology, text me and remind, and I'll get back to you. Okay? that is our introduction to Buried in the Sky, and enjoy, and more to come later. Take care.